Hello, hello, beautiful humans. Welcome back to another episode of All I Do Is Wear My Own Merch. This is the Natural Born Icon t-shirt. I've just tied it. It's very cute. I am obsessed with it. The t-shirts are super soft and all of them come from sizes S to 5X, which is absolutely fabulous. And did you know that I have a free masterclass if you have a personal brand or you have a social media presence and you want to own the F out of who you are online and offline? I will drop the free, absolutely free, like did you hear that? Free Natural Born Icon masterclass below in the comments so you have access to that. And I'll put my merch shop because why the heck not? If you are new to my channel, welcome. I'm so happy that you're here. If you're not new to my channel, welcome back, friend. I hope you're doing great. My name is Danny D. I'm an author, I'm a speaker, I'm an educator, helping you own the F out of who you are, online and offline, as mentioned. And I also teach on a concept called iconic leadership, which is always leading with integrity, clear communication, ownership, nuance, intention, capacity, and consent. What the heck does that mean? Well, I'm so happy that you asked because every week, I've been going through parts of the iconic leadership framework through my leadership horror stories playlist, which I will link above. So one of the things that I talk about when I talk about the iconic leadership model is consent. Consent is so important in every single aspect, kids, including when you are online. So there's something that I call social media consent. I actually have a whole program on it. And it's about taking the concept of consent and really looking at social media through a consensual lens. Because social media is a consensual experience. Let me explain. So if you go to my profile and you're like, man, that Danny girl, she is something else.
I think she's so interesting. I would love to click the link that's below this video and follow her on, say, Instagram.
So you would go to Instagram and you would look at my profile and you would be like, oh my gosh, yes, I want to see this on my timeline. Then what do? You click
that follow button.
That follow button says, yes, I would love to see this on my timeline. Now, at any point in time, if my content isn't something that you want to see on your timeline, because when you log into your social media, whether that's Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, whatever, that timeline is made up of an algorithm that says you want to see this, I'll show you more of it. So the whole time you are dictating with your attention, with what you like and you comment on, with the things that you engage on, with the things that you have your eyeballs on and you maybe hover over for a moment, you are continuously telling the algorithm,
give me more, I want to see it all.
If at any point in time you're like, I don't want to see this, you can do something really fabulous, which is you can mute, you can block, you can delete, you can unfollow, right? If you're like, oh my gosh, I would never want them to think that I unfollowed them, mute them. They have no idea that you don't see their content. And if they do come up to you and they say,
hey, did you see my post the other day?
You know what you can say? No, actually I didn't. I would love to see it now if you want to show me. The algorithm only shows our content to like 10% of our audience anyways. I don't know what the actual percentage is, but I think it's like 10% or something like that. So really, you might not see it anyways, even if you didn't mute them or whatever, right? So social media is a consensual experience. My thought process on my actual social media, like what I'm posting on, is if you consent to following me, you consent to all of me. I promise to always post content that is in integrity with my value system, that is something that I want to communicate and share with the world around me. All behavior is communication. And I am taking full ownership over my platform, my behaviors, my words, my social media as a whole, the energy that I bring into the space, the aesthetic, all that stuff. So I'm in charge of my social media platform. I take full ownership over that little slice of the internet that I get to create and play in. And you choose if you want to consent to following me or if you don't. Same with me. I get to choose what I consent to following and seeing on my feed or don't. If I see something that I don't like on my feed, I have the power to change that. We don't own these apps, but we own our behaviors as a consumer on those apps. And when we talk about social media consent, we also talk about consent in the DMs, which is so important because your direct messages I believe is one of the most intimate touch points that you can communicate with someone. It's like texting them directly, pretty much, because we are always on our phones, and we are on our phones in our most intimate times. When we are about to go to bed, on the toilet, and we are in the bathtub, we might be looking at our phones in really intimate moments. So we have to be very aware of what we're consuming. And for most people, when they have that notification come up that there is a direct message, they're like, oh, okay, I have to respond to this. There's like that sense of urgency that is placed on us psychologically, like, oh, I have to respond to this. I have to get this inbox to 0. I have to get my social media inbox to 0. And I'm not popular enough to have like thousands and thousands of messages. So I can't even imagine, like, that would be so overwhelming for me. But I know if I have like 3 or 4 messages, I want to be able to respond to those, or I want to clear that inbox and see what people have to say. So when it comes to that, there's something called cold messaging people that oftentimes is taught in marketing, which is like, I'm going to come into your direct messaging box of your social media, and I'm going to pitch you my product, or I'm going to connect, which is essentially sell you under the disguise of connection, and try to manipulate you into buying from me, or manipulate you into a conversation where you feel like you need me or you want to pay me for a service, or I can figure out what your needs are and then I can adjust my pitch accordingly to meet those needs in form of selling you something. Now, this is something that I literally used to do. You can watch some of my leadership horror stories videos where I talk more about that. I was in an MLM for a little bit. I was in 2 actually. I was in two separate parts of my life. And that was something that was widely taught, cold messaging or creating conversations in person before social media was as big as it is now. Creating conversations in person and trying to like manipulate that conversation into an opportunity conversation or something, right? And even through my sales career in retail, it was you had a customer walk in and you needed to connect with that customer to figure out what they were looking for in order to have them buy more product. We can smell it as a consumer from a mile away. We know what's happening. We know when we're going to be sold to, or we know when there is an agenda underneath a conversation. And it feels very invasive, and it feels almost like you're on guard. You're like, I don't want to have this conversation. So as someone who's going into someone's DMs, you might be backing someone into a corner if they don't have really strong boundaries. You might get ghosted. Someone might not respond, or you might get the sale. And then awesome, you've now convinced someone in some form of that conversation that they need to buy from you. And because that conversation was not really focused on informed consent, because you had an agenda underneath that conversation, there might be a dynamic in there that you didn't want to sign up for, but that you got because you manipulated that conversation. Which brings me to one of the wildest patterns that I witnessed yesterday on my birthday. It's not my birthday right now, but if you want to leave me a happy birthday in the comments, please feel free. Thank you so much. I got so many Facebook messages from strangers who I didn't know I was even Facebook friends with, which happens a lot of the time when you run an online business, because I run it underneath my name. So sometimes if I'm like in a Facebook group or something like that, like people will follow my business page and then they'll friend me, and like, I don't care because it's just my business content and I have a personal brand anyways. So it's like, that's fine. Like I have nothing to hide. A lot of my contracts of speaking come through Facebook, which is wild. People will message me and be like, hey, like, can you send me your speaking stuff? So I use Facebook a lot. I would actually say, yeah, pretty decent amount. I got so many messages, and some of them ranged from people singing me happy birthday on video that I've never seen before, which was very sweet, but also quite invasive if you think about. Some of them definitely stepped over a consensual line with them, and followed up by, if you need anything, reach out to me, or I'd love you to check out my profile, or what are your plans for this year? I had recognized that it was my birthday and there was an excuse to message me and then kind of lead into a sales pitch. You can feel it. I had voice messages of people singing me happy birthday and then directly going into, what are your plans for 2022 and blah, 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 and like trying to ask me so many questions to like steer the conversation is not always consensual. And the reason why is because when we ask and demand things of people in their DMs without being transparent and clear with our communication, really asking for consent to share something, or to consent to like, hey, do you have time to have a conversation, or not being direct in what our intentions are, that is non-consensual, because I don't know what I'm consenting to when I'm getting into that conversation with you. And you can say that you're just doing it to connect, but if it's you are messaging someone to connect in hopes that somewhere along the line you will get a sale, you're doing it for the sale, you're not doing it to connect. Even if your number one goal is just to connect right now with the intention of having it be a sale later on, let's not pretend like this whole journey isn't always leading to the agenda that is running through the whole conversation, which is, I hope you pay me. Now, having said that, I have met some of my really close friends on Facebook or social media, connecting literally in the business and entrepreneurial space, talking about things and just genuinely sharing our feelings and whatever. It's amazing. Like genuine connection is amazing, but you can always feel the underlying of what the agenda is. Some of the things that we can do to make sure that we're being super clear in our communication is honoring people's capacity. So capacity is how much I can hold. So you don't know what's going on the other person's life. You can say, well, it's their responsibility to not check their messages, but that's also demanding a lot from someone else when you don't know how they're utilizing social media, because it might be as a form of escapism for something that's happening in their life. And that's okay. We all do it. But here's some things that you can say or things that you can do to make it more consensual. If you are trying to pitch someone, make sure you know your stuff. Make sure you know your stuff. Let's just go straight up for it. Like how to pitch in the DMs if you're trying to do it consensually. Don't assume anything from their experience. Don't assume anything. Just have an idea who this person is and what value you bring. Don't assume they're anything or pain or anything, and don't throw their pain points back in their face if they said something on their profile. Please don't do that. Number 2, be as direct as physically possible. What are you saying? Say what you mean what you say. Be direct. People are going to so respect that, okay? Once again, don't assume you know more than that other person about their own life, okay? You don't. They do. They're living it. You are witnessing it through the lens of social media and your own perceptions. Number 3, do not push. Don't push. If someone says no, they say no is a full sentence. They don't need to justify. They don't need to do it. They just no. Okay, sounds great. Thank you so much. But know that you are coming into someone's most intimate moments and demanding or expecting something. Always honor capacity, always honor consent. And that is how you stay mother effing iconic, friends. So I just wanted to share that because I got some weird messages yesterday. It was very overwhelming for me and my capacity. And I'm someone who has pretty decent boundaries in terms of reading things and checking my messages and all that stuff. Okay, so that's all. So go binge listen to my leadership horror stories if you just want more Danny in your life. More videos will be coming up, so make sure you like, subscribe, send it to your friends. Feel free to post this video to your stories and just be like, oh, I saw this really cool video. If you've gotten weird non-consensual DMs recently, if someone DMs you and they're not taking no for an answer, send them this video. That's totally okay. That's a perfect response. And yeah, I think that's it. Okay, so go be fabulous, kick ass, take names, change the world. You're freaking fabulous. Stop being so secretive about it. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.